Disclaimer. This video content is AI generated as educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis or treatment. Your health concerns may be unique. Always consult your physician or a qualified healthcare provider for personalized guidance.
You know those days where you just feel off? Your energy's in the tank, you can't focus, you just feel totally out of step with the world. Well, what if that feeling isn't just in your head? What if it's a sign that your body's entire timing system has been thrown into chaos?
So we all know about the biological clock, right? The one in our brain that tells us when to feel sleepy and when to wake up. But what if I told you that's not even close to the whole story? What if your brain isn't your only clock?
The wild reality is, your body is literally packed with clocks. I mean, almost every single organ, your heart, your liver, your gut, your lungs, your muscles, you name it, has its own little clock, ticking away, running its own daily schedule completely on its own.
I just love this quote because it absolutely nails it. Your body isn't run by one big grandfather clock. It's more like a whole clock shop, filled with dozens of different timepieces that all have to stay perfectly synchronized. Which of course brings up the million-dollar question: how on earth do they all stay in time?
Well, that's where the master conductor of this whole biological symphony comes into play. There's this incredible, elegant system that keeps the whole clock shop running like clockwork.
At the very center of it all are these things scientists call circadian rhythms. These are the internal, near 24-hour cycles that are basically hardwired into our biology, and they govern pretty much everything.
And that master conductor, it's a tiny little cluster of brain cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or just SCN for short. This is the head honcho, the central pacemaker for the entire operation. It's the one that takes cues from the outside world and then sends out the memos to coordinate every other clock in your body. Okay, but how does the SCN know what time it is? It uses cues from our environment called Zeitgebers. It's German for time givers. Now, the most powerful Zeitgeber, by a long shot, is light. But other things, like when we eat, when we exercise, even changes in temperature, all act as little signals that help our clocks set their time. So how does this ticking actually work deep down inside a single cell? It's this beautiful feedback loop. Think of it like this. A couple of proteins act like an on switch, firing up specific genes. These genes then produce another set of proteins that start to build up. Once you get enough of them, they team up and act as an off switch, blocking the very proteins that created them in the first place. Then, over time, they fade away, the on switch flips back on, and the whole cycle starts over. This whole elegant process takes roughly 24 hours, and it is the fundamental tick-tock of life.
And when all those billions of cellular clocks are ticking away in perfect sync, this is what you get. It's a beautifully orchestrated 24-hour cycle where everything happens right on schedule. Your alertness peaks in the morning, your physical performance is at its best in the afternoon, and as evening comes, melatonin kicks in to prepare you for sleep. It's nothing short of a biological masterpiece.
But in our modern 24/7 world, with bright screens and late nights, this masterpiece often gets thrown into total chaos. So, what happens when the clocks fall out of time?
Well, it's a condition called circadian misalignment. Basically, it's a state of internal dyssynchrony. Your liver clock is on one schedule, your gut clock is on another, and neither of them are lined up with the actual day and night outside. And the most powerful real-world example of this? Shift work. And this is not a small issue. We're talking about around 16% of the workforce in places like the US. That is millions and millions of people who are living in a constant state of circadian disruption.
So what's the real price of all this mistiming? The research is painting a pretty stark picture, and honestly, the health consequences are sobering.
Let's just start with the heart. For every 5 years a person does shift work, the risk of having a major cardiovascular event goes up by a cumulative 7.1%.
If you look at the overall numbers, shift workers have a 17% higher risk of any cardiovascular event, a staggering 26% higher risk for coronary heart disease, and a 22% higher risk for atrial fibrillation. These are not trivial numbers.
And it really doesn't stop there. The World Health Organization's own cancer research agency looked at all the data and made a pretty shocking declaration. Night shift work is a probable human carcinogen. To give you some context, that's the same risk category they put things like red meat in.
And then you have our metabolism. Research shows pretty clearly that shift work is associated with a twofold increase, that is, double the risk
of developing metabolic syndrome, which is that whole cluster of conditions like high blood pressure and high blood sugar.
This table really just sums up how widespread the damage is. We're seeing increased risks across every single major system in the body: cardiovascular, cancer, metabolic, reproductive, and mental health. The big takeaway here is that this is not just a sleep problem. It is a systemic, whole-body problem.
And the list just keeps going. Shift workers are more likely to get infections. They have a higher likelihood of depression and anxiety. And really alarmingly, there's even a potential link to suicidal ideation. This goes way beyond just feeling tired. It's a fundamental disruption of our health.
Okay, so I know that was a lot of bad news, but it's not all doom and gloom. In fact, this explosion of knowledge about our internal clocks is opening up a brand new, absolutely revolutionary frontier in medicine. And it's all centered on one simple, powerful idea: timing is everything.
Welcome to the amazing world of chronotherapy. This is a field of medicine based entirely on timing treatments to the body's clock. The goal is so simple, but so brilliant. Deliver a drug or a therapy at the exact time of day when it will be the most effective and the least toxic, all based on the natural rhythms of our cells.
I mean, the potential here is just incredible. Imagine timing chemotherapy for the exact hour when cancer cells are most vulnerable, or giving blood pressure medication when it's going to have the biggest bang for its buck. We could even start prescribing timed meals, specific kinds of light exposure, and scheduled exercise as actual medicine to get our clocks back in sync.
And really, that's the ultimate promise here. By truly understanding this internal clock shop we all have, we can start to shift our focus away from just treating diseases after they happen to actively preventing them in the first place, just by learning how to live in sync with our own biology.
So, that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Your body runs on a precise, ancient, and incredibly complex schedule. The real question is, are you listening to it? Are you living in sync?